Hello, my name is Dawn, and this is Percy. Yes. And I'm the Ginger Cat Stitcher. Thank you for joining me today. I'm very happy to have you. Today I thought that I would share with you this little scroll that I made. It's on a vintage thread spool, and it's tied with some seam binding. It's a cute little vintage button. When you untie it and unroll it, inside is some cross stitch. It says Kind Words. This is a pattern by Lori Brecklin of Not Forgotten Farm. And I'm not associated with her or anything. I just saw her pattern on Etsy and I loved it. And I thought, kind words, yeah, that's something I can get behind. We definitely need to speak kindly to each other, and words matter. So I started stitching it, and as I was stitching it, I was thinking, you know, I really try to use kind words. I try to use kind words to other people, but the person that I don't speak kindly to sometimes is myself. So as I was stitching this, I was like, you know, this needs to apply to me. I need to have kind words in here because that's important. What you think is what your reality is. And so I need to be kind to myself. So I thought, I'm going to make this little secret roll full of kind words. So I made a list of words that I thought were descriptive of me, things that I strive to be, things that I believe I am, and I have stitched them on here, and I've left room to add more, and I've embellished it with some antique buttons and some lace, and they're just simple, humble stitching. I used 2 strands of embroidery flossed and backstitched the words. Then I used 1 strand of embroidery floss to do the whip stitching and add the buttons. And then I have a little scrap of vintage. I'm not sure. Might be tatting. Might be a tatted edge from a tablecloth or a doily or something, or it could be crocheted. So this is what I would like to share with you today on how to make this. And one other detail that I did is I have this rolling inside. In the tutorial I give you instructions on how to make it roll the other way, but I wanted it to roll this way just so that it's kind of symbolic of these are the words that are inside my head, and this is just a cute little secret treasure, just a cute little thing I can keep on my sewing table and just tied up with a ribbon like this. It looks really adorable, and it's just a cute little thing to have sitting there, and only I know what's going on inside with my kind words. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and I'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right, so this is everything we need to make our kindness roll. So first we're going to need a pen, a friction pen. This is a friction erasable pen. I got this at Target. I've seen them at Walmart, office supply stores. These are fantastic. You can draw on your fabric and then just hit it real quick with a hot iron and it disappears. So we need one of those. And then you're going to need an item to make your scroll, to wrap your scroll around. I'm going to be using this vintage spool. I love this color. I thought it matched with my fabrics pretty well. But if you don't have a vintage spool, perhaps you have a vintage clothespin. If not, clothespins and wooden spools are both available at craft stores or on Amazon. I'll link Amazon below, but I'm not finding any singles. It's a pack of multiples for each one of these. So maybe your local craft store might be better. So you'll need something to make your scroll on. Again, I'm going to use the wooden spool. We're going to need a tape measure. And of course we need our stitching. I'm using this pattern called Kind Words. It's by Lori Brecklin of Not Forgotten Farm. I'm in no way associated with her or anything. It's just I loved her pattern, and this is the way that I came up with for finishing it. So in addition to that, you're going to need a piece of plain cotton fabric for embroidery. I just am using this vintage piece of muslin. I'm sure I got it at a thrift store in a package of fabrics or something, but any plain cotton fabric for embroidery would work. And of course, embroidery hoop. And then you'll need to choose 2 fabrics for your roll. I've chosen this one for the back of it and this one for the front of it. This fabric is Judy's 25th Anniversary by Judy Rothermel. And this one matches so well. It might be in the same collection, but again, I don't know. So these are the 2 fabrics that I've chosen for my roll. And then you're going to want to select some floss for embroidering your words. So I have chosen DMC 3011, DMC 918, and DMC 869 for mine. This floss drop is just a piece of scrapbooking paper that I hole punched. These 2 are actually in a pad of tags from Hobby Lobby. They're in the embroidery department. They come 30 of them, I think, in a package. And I laminated them and punched holes in them, and they work great for floss drops. So I'm slowly converting from these to these. So that's your supplies that you're going to need. Okay, so now for some measurements. You're going to take your wooden spool or whatever you've chosen to wrap your scroll around, and you're going to measure how much room you have here. So when I do mine, it looks like I'm going to have 1 7/8. That would be a comfortable measurement from here to here. If you're using the clothespin, you're going to measure from here to here. You want to give yourself like an even amount on each side. So this one I would say would be 3 inches. But I'm doing the spool. So I said I have 1 7/8. So I'm going to measure on my linen 1 7/8 would be right here, but I'm going to go in 1/8 of an inch and do 1 3/4, and I'm just going to use my pen and mark my line. And I've already done some of these here. I'll just make them a little darker. This distance here, I just chose something that looked visually nice from the edge of the word out. And we'll kind of roughly do the same on this side. Now the reason why I made this a little bit smaller than my 1 7/8 is because I'm going to sew on this line to keep it from unraveling, and then I'm going to unravel my linen because I want that nice frayed look. So I wanted to leave myself some room to get a little bit of a frayed edging there. So I'll make this a little darker. So that's where we are going to sew all around there. So let's go over to the sewing machine. All right, so now we are going to stitch on that line. Okay, next out of your top fabric, you want to cut a strip that's as wide as the spool that you're going to wrap it around, and then as long as 17.5 inches. If you want your scroll to be longer, you can make this longer. This can be any length you want, just however long it is, that's how long it's going to be as it rolls off of your spool. So this one is 1 7/8 this way by 17.5 this way. Next, I need to take my bottom fabric, which was this one, and I need to cut it the same width, 1 7/8, so that it fits nicely around my spool. This one, however, you want it to be longer. Now, I hope this doesn't confuse you, but this piece of fabric was not as long as that piece of fabric, so I'm going to have to piece it, which is fine. You won't even notice. So it needs to be the same length plus 5 inches. And I came up with 5 inches by taking the spool that I'm going to put it on and measuring the circumference, and then giving a little bit of leeway so that I can sew it. So that gives me the 5 inches. If your spool is thicker, you're going to need a longer tail. If you are using the clothespin, you're going to leave a shorter amount, because the piece of fabric that's longer, that part is what's going to wrap around the base of whatever it is you're using to hold your scroll. So just to recap, I have 2 lengths of fabric here. They are the width of my spool, which is 1 7/8 by 17.5 inches. And then again, my second piece of fabric is 1 7/8 by 17.5 inches plus an additional 5. Okay, and now we will piece that together. here it is, all pressed and looking wonderful. All right, and now the next step is going to be to add our kind words. So I took a piece of paper and I wrote down some words that I would like to use to describe myself, things that I want to remind myself to be, things that I feel are positive qualities that I have, and I just need to remind myself of these sometimes. So I made a list, and then from that list, you're going to use your embroidery hoop and your plain cotton fabric, and we're going to put the fabric on our hoop. And tighten it down. Now the best way that I have found to do this is to use your embroidery hoop upside down here to hold your fabric taut, so that when you write with your friction pen, it's a little bit easier. So then we're just going to write on here. Going to write our words. Make sure you keep your words kind of small because we don't have a ton of room there. And make sure that you also leave enough room between your words so that you can cut them out and have a little bit of a border. So the next thing that you're going to do is take the embroidery floss that you chose to go with your fabric, and you're going to embroider your words. Oops, upside down. So here's the words that I embroidered, and now we're going to cut them out. So let's start with the word kind. And I'm going to cut it out. Leaving plenty of room around the letters, and then I can trim it once I get it cut out. Trim it down a little bit. Get a little bit more off the bottom here. All right. Now we're going to take our roll, and I'm going to put this on there wherever I want this word to be. Put it up there, down here. I think we'll start this one right there. All right, so I decided I'm going to start right there. I have a knot in the end of my embroidery floss. Just unthreaded the needle. And I'm using one strand. And I'm just going to whip stitch this on. Now you can whip stitch it, you can running stitch, do a combination. Some of them are whips, some of them are running. But I'm just going to whip stitch this on. Just like that, and I'll be right back once I get them stitched. All right, and there we have it. I've stitched a little bit of vintage, I think that's crochet, might be tatting, but a little bit of trim, some antique buttons, And I'm happy with that. I still have some space to add some more. All right, so next step is to attach our spool. So I'm going to use some hot glue, and I'm going to do a row of hot glue right there. And I'm just going to put my fabric down right there. Make sure it's straight. Got to get it straight from the beginning so that it will roll straight. Let's go ahead and clip that off. All right. So now at this point is where you would decide, do you want it to roll this way so that all of your words are inside? Or would you like it to roll this way, where your words would be on the outside? This is just personal preference. And then you would have your cross-stitch kind words on the outside. A little bit of overlap right there. Me personally, I'm going to do mine so that the words roll up inside, because I want them to be my little secret, my little hidden treasure. These are the things that are going on inside my mind that I need to remind myself of. The things that are on the inside are the most important. So I'm going to roll mine this way. Now, again, if you wanted to go the other way, here's the trick. This is where your backing fabric is longer. Just tip it back like that so that your front fabric, your back is folded back, and then your front fabric, you would run a bead of hot glue right there so that your fabric would start winding that way. But I'm going to do mine onto the inside, so I'm going to run my bead of hot glue right there. So I'm just going to run my hot glue right there. And then I'm just going to roll it up. Press down a little bit. Make sure it's nice and secure. That's it. So now my strip of fabric is attached to my spool, and I can roll it up, keeping my personal secret message to me all tucked in. Now all we need to do is to add our ribbon for tying it closed. So I have some seam binding. Thought this green went really well with it. And then I'm going to use another button. And I'm going to stitch my seam binding onto the outside and put a button over top of it. So let's see, let's find the end of my seam binding here, which is over here. How much do we need to go around here? And of course we want it long to have nice, beautiful ties. Let's keep it in the frame. I'm gonna go about right there. Again, this is just your preference, how long you want your ties to be. And let's see, I think that button might be a little big. Let's see what else we have here. That's a pretty one. I like that one. All right, so we're going to go with that one. And we'll get our needle and thread, and we'll stitch our seam binding. We're going to find the center. So right there. I'm going to stitch that right onto there. And then I'll add my button on top of it. I'll be right back. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. And if you have any questions about any part of it or anything, just go ahead and put them in the comments and I will be sure to answer them. I might have left something out or had something be confusing. So if you make yourself one of these cute little kind words scrolls, I would love to see it. So go ahead and tag me at the Ginger Cat Stitcher, and I would love to see it. And feel free to make this yours. Do it however you want to do it. After all, it's yours. So there's no right way or no wrong way. Just make it so that you're happy with it. And with that, I guess I'll say goodbye, and I hope you have a lovely day, and be kind to yourself, and happy stitching. Thanks. See you next time.